Yeah, they were trying to make it look like it did the exact opposite, so that people would have this benchmark that would say, not only does it not work, but it actually does the opposite. It actually makes it worse.
Okay, but that perhaps is a simultaneous, rationale for a certain, negative action, but at the same time, they were, sending a message to Japan and to Takanaka.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm saying both of
those.
those things are true.
Okay, yeah.
But it was the timing where they say, hey, look, we can also hit fire the grid at the same time that we're threatening the
Okay, and
Japanese.
then you come back to the idea that the Japanese people, though, could have perhaps turned that around if their consciousness was in the right place.
Absolutely. You have to understand that many of these things that have been planned don't work out. And I do believe that we're like children in a sandbox, essentially. And there are beings of vastly higher intelligence and vastly higher ability that essentially make sure that we could foul up the nest if we want to, but outside of the nest, not much is going to happen. And even inside the nest, we live in a very highly structured reality. This is the most intrinsic thing to awaken to on the spiritual path is so many people are living their lives thinking that it's just cause and effect on the most gross level of, like, if a human being does something, that's what happens, or if nature does something, that's what happens, but there's no other causality. And it's this magical awakening that happens when you start to see a connection between your thoughts and the manifestation that happens.
Yeah, sure. And then that dismantles the whole expected cause and effect training one's whole life, and then that creates the space for miracles to occur.
Absolutely.
And you and I have been talking about this just over dinner here, about the extraordinary things that can happen once you kind of give that permission.
Right, and as you were saying, the synchronicities that people are having now are so extraordinary that if you dared to put it into a film screenplay, the readers would never let you get the script sold.
Yeah, it would never be admitted. Crazy things happen.
Right. I mean, like you were talking about the money thing that was going on.
Mm-hmm. Financial synchronicities are cool because then you're seeing, okay, this applies to more than just a nice little affirmation. It's actually big things can happen. But again, it's not like The Secret. The universe is not a cosmic vending machine instant gratification mechanism.
Right.
The more that you ask for, the more you need to be willing to give. If you want to bid the universe for a high degree of material affluence, you have to also be willing to give a great deal of affluence back. And I really think that principle of namaste is very much what the new internet thing is about. A lot of you who watch this video, you may be interested in transitioning to an online income, like I've done. And what I believe is the new standard for the internet now is you have to give away like 50% of your best content free. Because if you don't do that, then people are not going to want to buy stuff anymore. So it's the same principle. You give and you get. So now the internet has really equalized all that. You can't just give a website that puts out a sales pitch and doesn't show you what you're going to get, because people are doing that, but they're not selling anything. Whereas if you circulate your wealth, it comes back to you much more readily.
And by that token, then we're really going to get rich because we don't sell anything.
That's why I donated to you guys, because you haven't.
Well, actually,
but there are two metaphors here which I really like, and something that dawned on me quite a while back, but it took me a few years to realise it, is that the secret of success in a relationship is not to go into it looking for what you can get, but to go into it looking for what you can give. And then that enables that return flow, which is the kind of thing you're talking about. Mm. And the other metaphor which I really love is that you don't get rich by hanging onto your money in the same way that you don't live forever by holding your breath. You've got to let it go, and then it comes back, and it's just a form of energy, and energy is meant to move, and so on and so forth. And
well, in the Deep South, we have an expression, "I stopped worrying about money so it'd come find me to get some attention."
I love it. But look, listen here. What I would love to talk to you about, this is great. Let's just imagine for a moment that you're psychic. Okay. And what do you think, if you're a betting man talking about money, what's going to happen in the world in the next few years? What do you think? And we're not asking you to peg your reputation on this. This is just the cornerstones for a discussion that we want to have. What do you think is going to be going on?
And we have to preface this by saying that over dinner, which we have had just previous to this, we had a long discussion about some of the predictions going up into and including and beyond 2012 that Dan Burish was telling us, some of which we can't even release on this video interview yet because we haven't gotten permission. But there were things discussed over dinner. So whatever David says right now may or may not include some of the things that Dan Burish mentioned that were seen in Looking Glass.
Well, it's the most esoteric forms of intelligence information. We're talking about intelligence probes into the future, reaching into the future to see what's going to come back, or rather to see what kind of future we're going to be heading into, which then of course makes the whole thing subject to change because human beings have free will and have their own agendas and have everything else in the world going on, and therefore that enables people to spike the guns if they don't like the future that they see, and you get all kinds of push-pull effects going on.
Also, looking at it changes it.
Yeah.
Well, and in private conversations I've had with Dan, he's expressed that, hey, we don't really understand the technology, we don't really understand how it works, and there's more and more evidence which he himself validated to suggest, as I also go into in the 2012 Enigma video, that the intent of the person running the chair, or in this case, the intent of the person running the looking glass, does determine the outcome.
But what we hear over and over again, ever since the days of Walter Heisenberg and Niels Bohr, consciousness is king.
Right.
It's coming back to us in the micro and the macro all the time. This is the
okay.
story.
So I will not shirk from the realm of controversy. I have been getting a lot of Barack Obama dreams. A lot.
Oh, really?
A lot.
Ah.
They are presenting him very, very favorably. I had a dream recently that telegraphed that some big nasty thing was going to happen to him, that it was an inside job, that it was intended to try to diminish his credibility, and that he was going to take a hard hit from it, but that it wouldn't kill his candidacy. And that was before this whole thing came out about the preacher.
Yeah.
So it would be a very intriguing and fascinating possibility. It may not happen, but it would be an intriguing and fascinating possibility if he was able to actually win the election. Because what you're basically dealing with is a bloodless coup against the ruling elite, the royalty that has been secretly, covertly running the country since at least 1913. So, but what's so important about this presidential election is that it's the last president's term before 2012, right? So if there's any credibility to 2012 at all, then we have to consider that whoever is president during this time is the pivotal moment. So I personally do believe that, you can look on tbrnews.org as a website, www.tbrnews.org, and read these Voice of the White House insider disclosures, and it will...
TB for...
TBR
Bravo?
for The Barnes Review.
Okay.
tbrnews.org. And there's a column called Voice of the White House, and it has proven itself to be a very valuable source of intel. It's somebody who works within the White House in the Bush administration and who has been sort of secretly letting loose all sorts of insider stuff, telegraphing this, that, and the other. And he's said on several occasions now that they are terrified of Obama winning this election.
Yeah.
Great.
He is not in their pocket at all.
Oh, what is this source saying about, war with Iran?